All right. Well, Thursday evening at Nike Center Court, part of the Hoop Fest festivities this week. There's going to be a special guest giving a talk and answering some questions about some of the good and some of the bad in his life. His name is Chris Herren. He was a top-notch college basketball player. He was a second-round draft pick in the 1999 NBA draft by the Denver Nuggets, went on to play for the Nuggets and for the Boston Celtics. His career coming to end because of an addiction. And that's basically the story of his addiction has now set the chapter for the next part of his life, which he's bringing to Spokane this Thursday. His name is Chris Herren. You might have seen him featured on the ESPN Films production of Unguarded. It's a great show. If you get a chance to look at it, look at that. But he joins us on the line right now. Chris, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, no, thanks for having me on. It's great to be on.
Tell us a little bit about what kind of a basketball player you were coming out of high school and in the Boston area and going to play college. And I know you were at Boston College for a short while and then played for Jerry Tarkanian at Fresno State.
Sure. I was I definitely had a bright future. I mean, I was an up-and-coming high school basketball player who was selected to the McDonald's All-American game, did very well on the AAU circuit, won a few national championships, and, eventually decided to go to B.C. and stay home. I was a local kid, so my loyalty was in Massachusetts, and that's where I wanted to begin and end my college basketball career. It just didn't work out that way.
Local boy, it's funny you don't sound like you're from Massachusetts. I'm surprised you said that. Do us a favor and tell us to park the car. Just talk about what you do now, okay? You're going around speaking. What's the message you're bringing to communities right now?
My message is my story, but the message has evolved because of other stories along the way. It's a tremendous. There's a tremendous need for substance abuse education, awareness, treatment in this country. I've spoke at schools where kids have overdosed, committed suicide, 7th, 8th grader found with needles in their arms, dead in their bedroom. It's amazing the journey that I've been on, traveling this country, speaking in front of kids. And what I do is just give them my heart, and my soul, and just give it to them as honest as I can give it to them. And when they see that, they feel comfortable giving me what they have and opening up what they want to talk about. Because at that point, it's usually not as bad, but it's somebody to talk to, somebody to kind of let something go to.
In your story, Chris, does it matter that you were a basketball player? Is your story different because you were a top-level basketball player?
No, I don't think so. What I think is the kids identify with is someone who's just extremely honest. Basketball is the silver lining in my story just because it gets me in front of the kids. I'm grateful for the opportunity of playing basketball because it gives me the opportunity now to get in front of these kids. But once they hear the story, I was a professional, much more. I had a much longer career as a professional drug addict than I did as a professional basketball player.
Well, a professional drug addict.
Yeah, no doubt, junkie.
What? Okay, it's not like you're making money off of it. It's costing you pretty much everything you have.
Yeah, well, I wasn't insinuating I was making money.
Chris, is this part of the healing? Doing these things, is this part of the healing process for you? Is this part of your dealing with this on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, it's definitely part of the program. Service work definitely is part of the recovery process. But every day is part of the process, and I do what I'm supposed to do to stay sober. I have to take care of me first. This can be very taxing and wearing at times. It's never easy, for lack of better words, beating yourself up for an hour, but it's necessary. I could very easily take the easy road, and never look back, and just keep moving in the direction I've been moving in, and not really acknowledge my past. I choose to bring my past up on a daily basis because I believe it could have an effect on some kids out there. And that's what my main mission is. That's what I've devoted my life to, really.
Chris, you lived a life where basketball was taking you all over the world. And where do you suppose this, or where did this addiction or abuse really kind of start for you? What was your history in that department?
You know, it started at a young age. It started when I was in high school, you know, and I try to tell kids, you know, and it kind of hits them. But every drug addict starts off smoking pot and drinking beer, you know. I mean, some make it through, some don't. It's up to you to roll the dice and see if you'll be the one that makes it out. But there's a heavy price for those who don't. You know, I know plenty of people who smoke pot and drink beer, and that's really all they've ever done. I also know plenty of people who turn out to be crackheads and junkies on street corners. So that's what I want these kids to understand, that the choices they make at a young age will continue and follow with them in their adult life, one way or another. For me, you know, nobody, you know, if you looked at me at 17 years old in a McDonald's All-American uniform, you know, you wouldn't say, hey, that kid's most likely going to live a life of a drug addict. You know, but those decisions I was making in high school, in college, led me down that path.
Were you that good a ball player that you could have been completely high and playing at a McDonald's All-American level? That's pretty amazing.
You know, my drug addiction really didn't take off until in college. I played in college high. There's no doubt about that. I played in college with no sleep. You know, I'd be out all night doing cocaine and walk into the arena. You know, that's well documented in the ESPN piece. But you know, it's something that I'm extremely embarrassed of. You know, and the one thing that I didn't really like about the unguarded piece is that some kids got the impression that I performed at a very high level playing basketball. No, I did not.
Right, and that's kind of where I was going with that, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, and when that question is asked, I say, well, listen, my career started with Denver, and I ended up in Iran. So how could it have benefited me? You know,
when you're in the middle of it, I know some people that they don't think it affects them because they're in the middle of it. Did you know when you were addicted to this, I could be a better player if I wasn't doing this, or did you think, man, it doesn't really bother me?
No. I knew I was a junkie. Listen, when you wake up every morning and you don't have a choice but to put it in you, or you're not going to be able to play. See, that's the difference. I got high in order to get out of bed. You know, that's what opiates, that's what heroin, OxyContin, that's what that does to you. There is no functioning without that drug in your system. I just wasn't willing to expose myself and say, here I am, I'm a junkie, I need to go to treatment and get detoxed and go through withdrawals. I wasn't willing to take that step. And ultimately I paid a price for that, you know.
Chris Herren, former NBA player, going to be joining us here on Thursday at Nike Center Court at Hoop Fest. What led you to do this? What led you to get away from this and do what you're doing now?
Gosh, you know, I had to live a very torturous life, and not only me but my family and people around me for many years. You know, I was shooting heroin for close to 10 years. I dragged my family through the mud. You know, I stole from them. We lived in nothing. We couldn't put heat. We couldn't put lights on in our house. You know, we couldn't afford certain things anymore. Anything, to be quite honest. And, you know, I overdosed, and I was found on the side of a road. They brought me to the hospital. I planned on killing myself that day when they released me, and I was brought back in by a nurse who said, I'm going to help you. And Chris Mullen reached out to me that night and said, you know, I've been in your position. I know what it's like to struggle, and I want to help. We have the resources. Will you take it? So I took his gift, and I went on to treatment. You know, in my story, I come home for the birth of my third child, 35 days into treatment. I relapsed that night. And And when I went back to treatment, the counselor looked at me and said, "Do yourself a favor, man. Pretend you're dead. Tell your wife to tell your kids that you died in a car accident. And you're a no good scumbag, loser, junkie who doesn't deserve this family. You're better off playing dead for them." And that was my bottom. Since that day, I've been sober since.
Can you tell when you connect with a kid or a young person when you're talking, when you're telling them your story, so either they fix their story or don't go down your path? Can you tell when you've connected?
No doubt. Absolutely. Because if you held my phone, the days that I'm tired of doing this, I just did the rookie symposium in Ohio yesterday. It was in like a 21-hour day flying to Ohio and flying back. And when you're tired, hold my phone for 2 hours after you do one of these things and just feel the emails coming through and read the emails from the kids. You just can't get tired anymore. There's just no getting tired because most of the time it's not the kids. Most of the time it's a family member, an older brother, an older sister, a mother, father, and they just want somebody to tell this to. And I'm that somebody, and I'm extremely grateful for that because they feel they identify.
It sounds to me like that nurse and Chris Mullen saved your life that night, and it sounds to me like you're trying to spend the rest of your life repaying that favor to somebody else.
Well, I just want to be them. That's all. I aspire to be them. I was with Chris Mullen and John McEnroe in New York at the Emmy Awards. And Chris Mullen sitting across the table from me, and he's like, "Man, I can't believe it was 4 years ago I picked up that phone to get you into treatment, and look how your life has turned out." I just want to be the guy who can give somebody a second chance, man. Not many drug addicts get second chances. It's often said to me, like, "Why do you do this?" The success rate sucks. And I tell the people the success rate sucks with pancreatic cancer. But those people still get the treatment, right? So drug addicts don't get that unfortunately don't get that type of empathy. And I just want to be the guy who can give back, who can from afar get that email someday saying, "I changed because of you," And if I get one of those, it's all good.
Chris, we're doing the presentation Thursday night at Nike Center Court, and we want a lot of people there to hear what you have to say. And there are people listening right now, and I'm not sure who you want in the audience. I want to know who you want to see in the audience when you walk out there Thursday night, and tell people why they need to be there or have their kids there.
Honestly, and I know that promoters of this event wouldn't like that, but to me it doesn't matter if there's one or if there's 10,000, because that one is supposed to be there. And it can sound cliche or corny, but the reality is the people who want to be there, who need to be there, will be there. And I've spoken in front of 4,000 people, and I've spoken in front of 20. And it's just as rewarding no matter what. I think it would benefit children. I think it would benefit, middle school, high school, college kids. But this doesn't discriminate against age, race, color, creed. It doesn't matter. It's there.
And what I'm asking is, okay, I'll say, okay, Chris, I'm a guy. I've never had a problem like you had. I've never known anybody who had a problem like you had.
Yeah.
What can I get out of this?
Well, first I'd say you're lying. Secondly, what I would say to this is maybe you'd get a better appreciation for your family. Maybe you'd go home and kiss your kids. Maybe you'd say, "Wow, man, things can turn fast." Maybe you'd say, that brother or sister that I haven't talked to, or aunt and uncle that I haven't talked to because of their behavior, maybe I'm going to try to reconnect with them and see if they're okay. The greatest gift that I get from this are those type of emails. It's like, "Hey, I got a brother who struggles, who I haven't talked to in 10 years, and I'm going to reach out to him now." Those are some pretty amazing emails. So, I don't. When you ask me that question, you're basically telling me to tell you how good I am at doing this. So I don't like that. I just think that there's a lot to get out of it. Some will get something that night. Maybe it resonates 5 years from now. Who knows? But I know it's necessary.
That's the amazing thing about a message, Chris. You don't know when it's going to hit somebody, do you?
Sure. No, you never know. I mean, listen, the most powerful speaker I ever heard was my freshman year at BC that I didn't listen to, because that man always, I could draw a picture of him today. It was 15 years ago, because I wish I listened.
Chris,
I wish I paid attention.
Obviously, the game of basketball has meant a lot to you. Do you play it all anymore? Do you go out to the driveway? Do you go to the park and shoot hoops anymore?
Not really. I'm practicing because I'm coming at Jamal Crawford's neck in that game. No, I'm just playing.
You're going to be the guy that's going to play defense, huh?
Man, I'm not setting myself up for that. Something. To flip it. To answer your question quick, I own a basketball company called Hoop Dreams, and we get about 1,000 kids involved in my program that train. I have a great staff who lets it go on with me on the road as often as I am. So there is some involvement. Me personally, once in a great while, I'll let the kids know that I had a little bit of something in my tank at one time. But Jamal Crawford is a special dude, and he reached out to me as soon as that Unguarded aired, and I had never come across Jamal before, and he was one of the only guys to reach out to me. And I know he doesn't even want this probably said, but I wish there were more Jamal. I wish Boston had a Jamal Crawford, because little Chris, my son, opened up the door one day and he had sent him all kinds of stuff. And, and that's the type of stuff that, nobody really reads about. Everybody focuses on his stat line and, and all that kind of stuff. But that's the stuff like a child like mine will never forget. And, I know his game is Saturday night. And to be honest with you, it's an honor going out there speaking, on behalf of the Healing Lodge, but just knowing that that's Jamal Crawford's, area, to me, it's an honor to do it.
Chris Herren, NBA player, will be here on Thursday at Nike Center Court. We'd love to see you down there. And the message, it can be different, but it's a message that, as you heard Chris say, it might hit you that night. It might not be 5 years from now, and it's going to affect you differently. Chris, thanks so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you here in Spokane on Thursday, and continued success.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right.